Been a long 2 weeks, but the light is at the end of the tunnel. Pattern changes on the way, which will bring an end to these nightly storm threats. Let's talk about it in this Tuesday edition of the Texas Weather Roundup. There, it's Tuesday, the 15th of July, 2025. Hard to believe we're halfway through the month, but it is what it is. I'm Texas Storm Chasers Boldy-in-Chief David Reimer. And yes, sirree, Bob, ladies and gentlemen, we are beginning to turn a corner here on what has been a relatively stagnant pattern over the last couple of weeks, which has allowed the continuation of these nightly storm clusters and threats, along with, of course, the very catastrophic and disastrous flooding we've experienced in parts of the Edwards Plateau, the Concho Valley, the Hill Country, into parts of central and south central Texas. Speaking of which, we do have a couple of flash flood warnings still in place this morning in the Hill Country, but the cluster of storms we had across the northern Edwards Plateau overnight is weakening. But we're going to have to keep an eye out going into this afternoon and evening. We may see a rejuvenation of that activity across parts of the Hill Country, maybe extending northeast into parts of North Texas as well, as the storm system responsible for this tries to drift to the north-northeast. Now, going into tonight, we're going to have to watch things as always, but this model, for what it's worth, does not at the moment show one of these big, bad, very mad clusters of storms giving us issues tonight. In fact, if this model's right, we might have a relatively calm night, which would be nice. We'll keep an eye on it going into this afternoon. For tomorrow, notice nothing. Some scattered showers and storms far west Texas, Panhandle, West Texas, monsoonal flow. Maybe some activity along the upper Texas Gulf Coast. Your typical sea breeze activity. But if this is right, today is the last day we're going to have to deal with this. We'll see. Nevertheless, any additional rain we do see in the Hill Country today will likely result in at least localized new flooding. And of course, we're still passing a lot of water through the respective flood control basins, etc. So, where does that leave us after this? Well, from one headache to another. This is the tropical weather outlook from the National Hurricane Center. A system currently over the eastern side of Florida is going to slowly move west over the next few days into the northern Gulf. There is now a medium potential for this system to become a tropical depression or a tropical storm. For what it is worth, the main threat with this system, wherever it ends up, is going to be rainfall. At this point, it does not look like it's going to be one of these big, bad, very mad, SpaghettiOs going from nothing to holy moly guacamole, I'm a major hurricane trying to kick your butt situations. But, of course, we'll keep an eye out because don't taunt Mother Nature, or Mother Nature will find a way to make something happen. In terms of its track, it's going to keep moving west over the next few days. At this point, it looks like it may be approaching the Louisiana coastline, maybe by Thursday and Friday, as either maybe a tropical storm, truthfully. Where it goes from there is a good question. Pattern, and we'll talk about that in a moment, would tend to indicate it'll get turned north into Louisiana, take that classic north turn, then begin moving northeast in the mid-south of the United States. But, exactly when is that north turn going to take place? Because if it keeps moving west, and that north turn's delayed, we're going to have to deal with something in terms of rain chances across the eastern quarter of Texas, Friday, Saturday, and maybe Sunday. That is something we'll have to watch for, as there will be quite a bit of moisture. But again, for now, eye is beginning to transition into the northern Gulf with a rainmaker on the horizon for some areas, and we can't completely rule out that chance being in far eastern parts of Texas as well. Something we'll watch for. Let's take a look. The upper air pattern from the European weather model. This is a look at the 500 millibar geopotential heights. This is essentially a very fancy term and way of me saying we're trying to see where the heat dome's setting up shop. You can see right now that heat dome is across the western Atlantic. That's helping to push the tropical wave over Florida to the west. Over the next few days, we're going to see that high pressure heat dome build in farther west. It's going to build in over the Gulf, and then as we get into the weekend, it's going to set up shop over the eastern half of Texas into the mid-south of the United States. A couple things are going to result. One, we're going to see, with the exception of the tropical mischief, rain chances get shut off, or at least greatly diminished, across a good part of Texas. Maybe still some monsoonal activity far western Texas, but for much of Texas, we're going to start seeing some subsidence or sinking air build in. That's going to allow for temperatures to warm up, rain chances to go down, like my hairline. The result being more summertime weather for the state of Texas. Now, all that could change if this tropical thing decides to be a little mischievous. We'll keep an eye on it, but for now, that is the name of the game. Here is the precipitation map from the European weather model going over the next several days. Friday, you can see it does have some scattered showers and storms across eastern parts of Texas, southeast Texas. It doesn't really show that tropical blob very well, does it? But nevertheless, we do expect some tropical moisture, Louisiana, possibly the eastern quarter of Texas, Friday, Saturday, maybe into Sunday. But the clear picture here is much of Texas, outside of the Panhandle, West Texas, Permian Basin, Big Bend, Trans-Pecos, into the borderland, looking much less active. And everyone else, pop-up shower and thunderstorm chances, mainly during the afternoon and evening. We will have to keep an eye out for that tropical blobby, though, in case it tries to trend farther west and bring higher rain chances to the eastern quarter of Texas. But it is very worth noting at this point, not even the most westward solutions out in rogue model land bring us anywhere close to the hill country. So we're not worried about that right now. High temperature forecast today. Has highs mostly in the 90s across the state, 80s down the hill country where we have residual cloud cover from this morning's storms, and higher soil moistures. Going into tomorrow, you can see that goes bye-bye, and thanks to the higher soil moistures, temperatures, upper 80s. Outside of that, it's going to be in the 90s across the state. We'll see a warming trend going through the late week into the weekend as we continue to see that upper level high pressure build closer and closer, bringing more summer-like weather to the state of Texas. And then as we get into the weekend and early next week, well, triple digits probably going to make an appearance for much of the state of Texas. Here's a long-range temperature outlook from the Climate Prediction Center, taking us through July 20th through 24th. You can see we are now firmly entrenched in above-average temperatures, indicating a summer-like pattern building into the southern, central, eastern United States. And with that, precipitation-wise, much more typical for the summertime months. We're looking at near average to below average precipitation chances here in the state of Texas, with the best chance for at least some precipitation across the northern plains and the eastern seaboard of the United States. So we'll keep an eye out for some of those showers and storms heading into this afternoon and evening, but hopefully today is the last day we have to deal with that nonsense. But of course now we're going to have to keep an eye on tropical mischief blob of doom out in the northern Gulf, because who wants a vacation, right? Not me. No sirree, Bob. We'll keep an eye on it, but again, at this point, I'm not expecting it to become a major hurricane or anything like that. Rain, and moisture with, some flooding threat will be the name of the game with that. Most likely staying much east of Texas, but still can't rule out some increased rain chances along the eastern quarter of the state. All right, that's it. I'm done trying to come up with words. We'll keep an eye on things. Otherwise, you can expect the next Texas Weather Roundup out Wednesday morning. Y'all have an amazing day. Stay safe. Have a good one. And God bless.